Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was back on Capitol Hill, this time facing the Senate after previously testifying in the House. And the hearing? It quickly turned tense. Democratic senators zeroed in on one explosive issue, Donald Trump's lawsuit against the IRS, a $10 billion claim tied to the leak of taxpayer information. Since the IRS falls under the Treasury Department, senators pressed Bessent on a simple but uncomfortable question: if Trump were to win, would Treasury be the one paying him?
But if the president prevails in this lawsuit, he's going to be able to pocket that money. My question is the president, has anyone in the president's office talked to you about this lawsuit in any regard?
They have not, and the president said he will donate the proceeds to charity. You may have missed that.
So no one at all has discussed this to you whatsoever?
No, sir, and the president said he will.
Have you received, I didn't ask any more questions. Have you received any advice from Treasury's legal division about how to handle this potential conflict?
This is a Justice Department matter. They represent Treasury in it.
Have someone from the Department of Justice actually come and talk to you saying that this is their purview and you need to stay out of it? Or who has discussed to you what is your role in this?
Our general counsel, who's sitting behind me, has told me that it is a Justice Department matter. The Justice Department defends Treasury in matters like this.
Okay, so it has been discussed with you. Do you have any final say at all in the process of this? Or is the DOJ just going to instruct you to cut a check and or settle, and you have no independence to actually make a decision whether or not the president deserves $10 billion?
Again, that is a DOJ matter.
And so the DOJ will entirely make that decision whether or not the president should receive $10 billion. You have no say at all.
Correct.
So you would just have to write the check if you were told to write the check.
Correct.
And you would write the check willingly if you were told by DOJ to the president.
I will follow the law, Senator.
Okay. I mean, I think for many of us, this is very simple. And I think if this had been happening in any other countries, it would look an absolute, like a total shakedown of the American taxpayer.
Bessent repeatedly insisted the matter falls under the Department of Justice. He said he's not involved in the legal decision-making and would simply follow the law. But senators didn't let that go. They asked whether, as Treasury Secretary, he would ultimately be the one authorizing payment from the Treasury's general fund, taxpayer money. His answer? If instructed by the DOJ, yes. That led to sharp accusations of a conflict of interest.
You know, we kind of touched on this earlier. In addition to being Treasury Secretary, you are serving as acting director of the IRS. So following up on Senator Kim's questioning, so you are fully aware that the president is suing your agency for $10 billion. Yeah. We would agree. Would you agree that $10 billion is a good sum of money?
Yes, sir.
Where would that be cut from? Let's say for some reason he actually wins that lawsuit. Where would that $10 billion come from?
Again, it would come from
process-wise. I'm not asking like your opinion whether it's right or wrong.
It would come from Treasury.
It comes from Treasury, which comes from the general fund?
The Treasury general account.
So taxpayers.
Yes.
Thank you.
Part of the 440,000 taxpayers whose returns were leaked.
If the president, they're not suing, but you also aware that President Trump has filed claims seeking $230 million from the Justice Department for investigations conducted during his previous candidacy?
I'm unaware of the cumulative number.
Okay. So if the president wins or settles these claims, that money will come also from the Treasury Judgment Fund, which you do control. Have you recused yourself from any decisions about paying the president on these claims?
Again, I'll follow the law, and I'm not involved with any of this. It stems from justice.
So even though the Treasury Judgment Fund is called the Treasury Judgment Fund, you have no control over the Treasury Judgment Fund?
We act as paymaster.
So you will sign it then?
Sorry?
You will sign the check then? If you're a paymaster, you'd be the person's signature is to the Treasury Judgment Fund?
I would assume it would be a wire transfer.
Yes, I'm assuming we're not that old school.
Lawmakers pointed out that the president has the power to fire him. So if the person who could benefit from a $10 billion payout also has authority over the official responsible for processing it, doesn't that raise concerns? Bessent pushed back, saying he works for the American people, not the president personally, and that he has no role in determining the outcome of the case. But the questions didn't stop there. Senators expanded the discussion to other potential conflicts: Trump's separate financial claims against the government, the Treasury Judgment Fund, and whether Bessent had recused himself from any related matters.
But that being said, so you have no say in this whatsoever. You will only basically follow what the DOJ says, but you're the person that actually is the final person that pushes send essentially on the wire transfer.
Yes.
And even if you feel or that it is unjust, the fact that this president is basically plundering U.S. taxpayer dollars, you will still hit that send button.
Even if I believe that 6103, the IRS tax code, was violated and 440,000 taxpayers were leaked.
So back to this other thing. So now you do believe, though, I mean, do you understand why some of us see a problem with that? And let me ask just a very simple question. Do you work for the president of the United States?
I work for the American people.
So can the president fire you?
Or he can.
He can fire you, correct?
Yes.
So isn't it a conflict of interest that you're going to be making these decisions and the president has full power over you?
I think you're confused, Senator. I am not part of the decision.
Well, you're certainly a person that send on the wire transfer. And I think that's why there's a lot of people that are actually
that is not part
do not trust and do not trust the president's actually looking at his best interest.
I guess you're saying that
I'm controlling the time here.
Obeying the law.
I'm controlling. You're not obeying the law. You're plundering U.S. taxpayer dollars. Plundering U.S. taxpayer dollars. Plundering taxpayer dollars. Plundering. Thank you. You'll back.
Okay. Senator McCormick is now recognized.
Thank you. Mr.
When we see that Trump is now suing the Treasury and the IRS for $10 billion, he even said, I am supposed to work out a settlement with myself. That's what Trump said. Do you think that that is a conflict of interest?
That is a Justice Department issue.
No, it is suing your department.
The Justice Department represents Treasury. I would suggest you contact Justice.
That'll yield back.
So,
when you had the Russia talks, was Jared Kushner a part of the Russia talks?
Yes.
What is his official role in the U.S. government right now?
I believe that he is a special envoy.
So you believe that he has an official position and that is not a unpaid volunteer position?
Sorry, I believe that it is not an official position, that he is designated as an interlocutor as we bring many people into the talk.
I just raised this because this is the problem that we're seeing right now when it comes to these conflicts of interest. You know, we see the Trump family getting involved in different roles, even though they don't have official positions. We see Pakistan now announcing that they're going to use Trump's family's companies, crypto, for cross-border transactions and trade. Does that not concern you?
Again, I'd be especially interested to hear if you have any information of why Mr. Kushner is conflicted in the Russia talks.
Look, what I'm saying is that if he wants to be, if he wants to participate in that, he should go by the same financial disclosures and getting rid of conflicts of interest that every other senior government official, including yourself, have to go through. And look, I'm just saying that when we're seeing Trump pardoning Binance founder Zhao, when seeing instead investigating Jerome Powell, would you agree that money laundering is a national security threat to this country?
Yes, sir.
Now, with Binance founder Zhao pleaded guilty to violating anti-money laundering laws and was sent to prison, Binance then injected billions of dollars into Trump's family business, World Liberty Financial, and Zhao asked for a pardon and received that. I just wanted to ask you, is that a conflict of interest in your opinion?
I am unfamiliar with any of that. I wear many hats. The pardon hat is not one of them.
I'm just asking, do you see it as a conflict of interest, though?
Again, I'm not going to respond to that.
Again, he maintained that DOJ makes the decisions and Treasury acts as the paymaster. Beyond the lawsuit drama, the hearing turned to the broader economy. Senators cited reports showing manufacturing job losses following tariff announcements. One referenced data indicating roughly 72,000 manufacturing jobs were lost after what the administration called Liberation Day tariffs. Bessent countered that the country is at the beginning of a manufacturing boom, pointing to factory groundbreakings and long-term strategy. On inflation, grocery prices, and affordability, the exchanges grew especially heated.
At a rally in my home state of Georgia, Donald Trump said, quote, "We're going to have a manufacturing boom." Secretary Bessent, we're now more than 1 year into the Trump administration. Yes or no? Has there been a manufacturing boom in the United States?
There are the beginnings of a manufacturing boom. We have intentions, factory groundbreakings, sir.
So your answer to that is yes, there's been a manufacturing boom?
That we are at the beginning of a manufacturing boom.
Okay, you and I could agree to disagree. But more importantly, manufacturers are telling us something different. Manufacturers are struggling because of the president's policies, and that's what they keep telling us, and the facts keep telling us. In fact, just this past Monday, the Wall Street Journal published this article entitled, U.S. Manufacturing is in Retreat, and Trump's tariffs aren't helping. I request consent to enter this article into the hearing record, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection.
Secretary Bessent, do you know how many manufacturing jobs the United States has lost since Liberation Day in April 2025, when the president first announced his tariffs?
Yes, Senator, because you were out of the room, but it was already brought up.
We do many things, sir. I don't need you to tell me where I was.
72,000. And I will point out that the Wall Street Journal
72,000
is not called the Main Street Journal, and they care more about
I'm not asking you to opine on the Wall Street Journal. I have 3 minutes. Just answer the questions that I'm actually asking you. So 72,000 manufacturing jobs, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. Thank you for answering the question. Manufacturers shed workers in each of the 8 months after President Trump unveiled his tariffs on what he called Liberation Day. I would submit that it's a strange liberation and a curious freedom that leaves you unemployed. So 72,000 manufacturing jobs, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. Thank you for answering the question. Manufacturers shed workers in each of the 8 months after President Trump unveiled his tariffs on what he called Liberation Day. I would submit that it's a strange liberation and a curious freedom that leaves you unemployed. Even worse, smaller businesses are struggling to keep up with the tariff chaos. Big manufacturers may have the resources to shift suppliers. And I need you to understand the spirit of my questions. I spend a lot of time talking to the people in Georgia who've given me the great honor of representing them in the United States Senate. And so this is about them, and especially our small businesses. They don't have the ear of the president. They don't have access to Mar-a-Lago, and so they're not able to insulate their company from the worst of the tariff. Secretary
Bessent, you are one of the president's top economic advisors. Let's just start with a little truth telling about the Trump economy 1 year in. Affordability is the top concern for Americans across the country. Donald Trump has called affordability, I want to get this right, a hoax. He's called it a scam. He's called it a con job. You're the Secretary of Treasury. You know the numbers. Is affordability a hoax, a scam, or a con job?
Senator, it may be a bit nuanced for you, but what President Trump is referring to is the media saying that the affordability crisis was generated by this administration when it was you and President Biden who destroyed the buying power of the American people. So there is an affordability crisis, and you were front and center in it.
So let me make sure that I understand. Donald Trump is not saying that affordability, what's happening to families right now, is a hoax?
He is saying that trying to lay the blame at this administration rather than the Biden-Warren economy is a hoax.
Okay, so it all happened before he got it. And everything that's happened since then, nothing is a hoax here.
This is the data from the Commerce Department, this administration's Commerce Department on National Travel and Tourism Office. Year-over-year declines in travelers from October 24th to the 25th. It's not just from Canada. It's from Germany. It's from the Netherlands. It's from Australia. It's New Zealand. It's India. It's Vietnam. It's Philippines. We are seeing under this administration a U.S. Travel Association travel forecast that is dealing with now nearly a 70 billion travel trade deficit for 2025. So how do you intend to address the tourism travel issue that we are losing money in this country because of the policies of this administration?
Is overall the occupancy in Las Vegas down, or more Americans going?
I'm talking about internationally. It's not just me. It's Florida. It's other states that are dealing with a decline in tourism. And this is my conversation with you for the last year that seems to be this administration keeps ignoring. It is a $1 trillion industry to this country, and you don't seem to think it is important. Let me talk about something else, though.
Back to Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren.
You ran the search for Donald Trump's Fed chair nominee. And Trump promised, quote, anyone that disagrees with me will never be Fed chairman. Kevin Warsh got the nod last Friday. And then over the weekend, Donald Trump joked that he would sue Mr. Warsh if he failed to lower interest rates. At least I think it was a joke. But just in case, this should be an easy one, Mr. Secretary. Can you commit right here and now that Trump's Fed nominee, Kevin Warsh, will not be sued, will not be investigated by the Department of Justice if he doesn't cut interest rates exactly the way that Donald Trump wants?
That is up to the president. Can you commit that you will?
I'm sorry.
Can you commit that you will not hold
up?
He
won't be sued if he doesn't drop interest rates. And he won't be criminally investigated.
The president also made a joke about you that I won't repeat, Senator Warren.
That was the
actually, I will. He said he had reservations.
If this was a joke, why not just say so?
It was a joke, and he made a joke about you too, Senator Warren.
Yes,
got a lot of laughs.
When asked directly whether grocery prices had dropped in 2025, Bessent argued that some items had declined and that inflation had stabilized near the Federal Reserve's 2% target. Senators pushed back with Bureau of Labor Statistics data suggesting prices were still higher year over year. The back and forth revealed a clear divide. The administration framing the economy as stabilizing and rebuilding, and critics arguing that families are still feeling pressure at the checkout counter.
Got a lot of laughs.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to respond to that.
I do want to respond. I don't think the American people
Mr.
are
Warsh
laughing.
is highly qualified.
They're the ones who are struggling with affordability.
Why don't you tell the nation what you told me, that you held up Chair Powell's renomination?
We're going to move on to the next one. Senator Rounds, the floor is yours.
21.5% cumulative inflation.
Let me just ask about what's happened in the 1 year that Donald Trump has been president. Last week, President Trump said, quote, we have the groceries going down. Did grocery prices drop in 2025?
Numerous prices have.
Did grocery prices drop in 2025?
Numerous grocery prices have gone down.
I'm sorry. I don't know if you can't hear me. Did grocery prices drop in 2025?
Numerous grocery prices have gone down.
Some of them.
And in fact, we have seen inflation at 2.1% for the past 3 months.
Have you seen the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that is Donald Trump's own Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers, that report that grocery prices were 2.4% higher at the end of 2025 than they were at the end of 2024. Trump's own Department of Agriculture has projected that those prices would climb higher in 2026. And under Donald Trump, families are paying more and more for groceries. So if you're just going to insult people by denying the facts that are out there and tell people they're doing great when they're struggling, I think that's just another way to say you don't have a plan to bring down these prices. You're not willing to admit the failures of the Trump administration.
Senator.
The foremost reason for tariffs is to try to stop other countries from taking advantage of us through either their tariffs or trade barriers. If Canada, for example, came to the United States and said, we're going to zero tariffs in the United States. All of them are off on our end. Would you, Mr. President, speaking to our president, go to zero tariffs and then just let Canadian companies and American companies compete on a level playing field?
Absolutely not. As we saw last week, when 2 weeks ago, when Prime Minister Carney went to China, he lowered tariffs on Chinese EVs from 100% to 6%. U.S. has a 100% tariff on Chinese EVs. We couldn't let our northern border be used as a way for Chinese EVs to come into the U.S.
Right. Okay.
And I've got a whole bunch of quotes here from candidate Donald Trump on the campaign trail. Starting the day I take office, I will rapidly drive down prices and we will make America affordable again. It's interesting he used that phrase since he's been making fun of the affordability phrase recently. But I listened to your exchange with Senator Warren, and the facts show very clearly that inflation has not been eliminated, has it?
Well,
right?
It is undesirable to completely eliminate inflation. What is desirable is to get back to the Fed's 2% target. And for the past 3 months, we've been at 2.1%, Senator.
Yeah. No,
so the 21.5% under the Biden administration.
Now, look, Mr. I know how you're playing games. You're doing the aggregate over the Biden administration. The last few months,
and you are.
No, the number 2.7 is your own number for last year, the year of the Trump administration. So let me ask you,
and you're being a deconstructionist and saying day one.
And great. Well, I'm just reading the president's own statements.
I'm glad you all have the same talking
Chairman,
point.
I ask unanimous consent that these statements be placed in the record. Mr. Secretary, I think you would agree that the credibility of the Secretary of the Treasury is important, and I want to give you a chance to retract a statement that you made on national TV. Alex Preddy was shot 10 times and killed by federal agents in Minneapolis. The administration, some administration called him a, quote, domestic terrorist. You suggested that Alex Preddy was culpable in his own killing because he had a gun in his waistband holster, which he was licensed to carry. When asked, you said, quote, I'm sorry this gentleman is dead, but, and you went on to say he had a weapon, suggesting that he was culpable in his own killing. So, Mr. Secretary, today, would you like to retract that statement?
I would not. And would you like to express remorse over the death of Ashley Babbitt here in the Capitol?
Oh, I have expressed remorse over that. So I've done that, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Secretary, please don't change. So you think, I have other questions, but I actually would have expected you to take this opportunity to rephrase your response to that question. So you think the fact that he legally had a gun justified his killing?
I didn't say that at all.
You said, do you think he was culpable, partly to blame in his own killing because he had a gun?
I did not say that.
I'm asking you a question now. Do you believe he was in any way culpable for his own killing because he legally carried a gun?
Again, this is an FSOC hearing.
Yeah.
So,
but you're the Secretary of the Treasury.
Why don't we talk about financial stability and oversight?
I'm happy to, Mr. Secretary, but your credibility is important. And in that response, you really, I think, let down the country, because we expect honesty after that kind of terrible.
It's market based. And as someone who, until the end of last year, was involved in the ag sector, I can tell you it was a record harvest. So it is a problem of abundance, but costs are up. We are working to bring the costs down.
Input costs are up, I believe, Mr. Secretary, in large part because tariffs are driving those costs up. And this is causing massive uncertainty and chaos in the farm sector, which is really hurting many farmers in my state and around the country.
There were also pointed questions about tariffs, trade policy, pardons, and possible political influence over the Federal Reserve. At one moment, even a Republican senator asked whether the U.S. would drop tariffs if Canada eliminated theirs. Bessent's response was blunt, absolutely not. By the end of the hearing, what stood out wasn't just the policy debate, it was the tension around accountability and independence. Lawmakers repeatedly returned to the same underlying concern: who ultimately holds the power and where are the guardrails? Whether viewers see this as routine political theater or a serious clash over ethics and economic direction likely depends on where they already stand. But one thing is clear, this wasn't a quiet hearing. It was a combative one.